So I just heard some news about half an hour ago that has me pretty fired up. I don't know all the ins and outs and what have you just yet. I just heard this from my wife. She heard it on NPR. So I'm going to be going into a little bit of that here in just a little bit. I've also got comedian Kris Shaw with me on the phone today. It's Wednesday. It's January 17th. 4:20 p.m. This is the 420 report. Hey, Holly, what's up? Hey, Holly, do me a favor. Hit the share button. And as well, Carlin, Kevin, you guys do me a favor. Hit the share button because today is going to be a really super fucking kick-ass day of the 420 report with comedian Kris Shaw. Hey, buddy, what's up, man?
Oh, man, the temperature is up for sure.
Where are you
located? Double digits now.
Where are you located right now? Are you in New York or are you in Indianapolis? Where are you?
I'm in Indianapolis.
Carlin Haggerty says hi. You know Carlin, right?
Carlin.
Carlin says hi. Derek joining in. Matt Jansen joining in. Hey guys, hit the share button and hit me up with some comments and questions. It's Wednesday. It's Hump Day Happy Hour. Today I have a new beer that I am going to reveal. This is actually a Scotch style ale from Founders Brewery, and this was given to me by an audience member from my show this last weekend in Lowell, Michigan. Somebody came up and like, hey man, I know you like to drink on your Wednesday 420 live video blogs. You want a 12-pack? And they gave me this 12-pack of different types of IPAs up there from Founders Brewery. So shout out to that. God damn it, I wish I could remember his name, and I feel like an asshole now. Kris, do you get a lot of you ever get audience members just bringing you random gifts?
Yeah, man. Somebody brought me a T-shirt before. I had, people bring me weed. I think I've got, I don't know, just random stuff. Like somebody showed up. One day I was somewhere twice, like a Friday and a Saturday, and somebody came out Friday, and then they came back the next day with Christmas presents or something like that. And I was like, "What? This is weird. We just met, and why are the little things spiraled right there?" But pretty nice rap job. I'll take it. It was keychains. It was. I think you might have been up there before. It was Philandia University, and their motto was like "FU."
Nice.
It's like northern UP, Michigan somewhere.
Yeah, man. And when you go that far in the UP up north, I always say the joke that I always do is I drove so far north, I wound up in the south.
It feels like it.
What now? Where all do you go? You go nationwide, right?
I go all around the world until they tell me to stop.
Yeah, because Kris, you've done shows overseas for the troops, and I'm just looking at your bio here. CBS drama Close to Home. We got a TV star up in here.
Man, shoot, I was the black dude in every neighborhood. That was my role, my recurring role. I would just be like a black dude walking in the background the whole time.
A different character every time. They're like, hey, we need a black guy for this role. Get Kris Shaw. Didn't he play George last time? Yeah, we need Jeff this time.
Well, I did a commercial with Peyton Manning. That was like my favorite thing I think behind the camera I did, because I think it was like one of his first commercials, and I was the high five guy in that commercial. I actually had that part, and all you saw was me walking really quick, and then you see Peyton Manning give me a high five, and then he just keeps saying, "I'll never wash his hand again." I want to ask him one day, did you really mean that? Have you ever washed your hand? Because I didn't wash mine.
Nice.
I think a deal's a deal.
Do you do a lot of acting and stuff like that? Because not a lot of guys do that. I send out on the Grassroots Comedy Tour. That's why we've got Kris on right now. He's going to be doing the Grassroots Comedy Tour out at Gunderson's Bar this Saturday night, January 20th. So shout out to Grant Gunderson and Tanya Gunderson and all the Gundersons from Lake Park.
I like that name. It sounds powerful and strong. You said, am I going to do what?
Do you do a lot of acting? Because not a lot of comics that I have on here do. They're more into like just they're old school nightclub road dogs.
You know what? I don't accept that, because I would actually trust you to be in a movie before I would somebody seasoned. That, you know what I mean? Like, because I know who JerDog is. So
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and you're just gonna be natural and act who you are. You can't you're not a character. You are you, and that's all you are. You're just you. So I think that everybody's an individual, and what I like to do is I like to do a variety of things. Like sometimes I like to do some acting, sometimes I like to do some directing, and sometimes I like to do some writing. You know, I think we all want to see our work, and that could come in the form of if I'm writing something for a TV show, or if I'm writing something for another comic, or if I'm writing something to submit to Comedy Central. You know, we all want to see a joke work, whether we perform it ourselves or if it works through somebody else. And that's how the music business is. Everybody, you know, some of the biggest hits that you ever heard come from people that you never heard of. And they're just sitting there just writing songs, you know, but they couldn't sing that same song and get the same kind of, some people are singers, some are performers, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Sometimes people are both.
And in comedy, you don't see that very much. You see a lot of guys that are, if they're writers, they're writing for big name guys, you know, or they're writing for national shows, things like that. But you don't see a whole lot of guys rolling around like on the open mic scene going, you know, I'm a deliverer. This guy over here, he's my writing partner, and he's the one that actually comes up with this shit. Or do you? I've never seen that.
Right. I've never seen that either, but I don't think nobody's going to tell me that anyway. And if they do tell me that, then I don't believe it. It's like something you would see in L.A. because in New York, it's about the business. So anytime in New York when you go to mics and stuff, I mean, these comics are talking about something that just happened to them on the way over on the subway. You know, they're talking about reality. They're not into the whole shtick and storyline and, you know, from here front to back like anybody else is in the middle of the country. And then on the West Coast, it's almost like, who do you know, and all that stuff. And some people are faking it. Like, and once you find out they're faking it, then like it's too late. You know what I mean? You've already invested too much time in being their friend or whatever. So I'm like you. I just take whatever I am and I just place it in a different place, no matter where I go. And it's either it's like Howie Mandel, deal or no deal. This is all I got. This is my product.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why I like doing the Midwest crowd so much, is because you can they'll sit there and be totally captivated and give you the time that you need to properly structure your story out, deliver all the punchlines in, you know, a way that you've crafted over years and years and years. And at the same time, they also like it localized. They like to have the audience interaction. Do you do a lot of that?
You know what? I used to do that, and then some of the great guys in the business, one guy, Mo Alexander from Memphis, he would say stuff like, Kris, why are you talking to these people? Stop making those jokes to where, you know, they have room for responses. And then I would think, like, you know, like, what's wrong with that? He's like, you just don't want to give people, you know, they'll just interrupt your art at some point in time, and sometimes you can open up the wrong kind of door, or maybe you can handle it, but the comic next week after you can't handle it. And they'll think that's the etiquette of the club or a comedy scene is to bounce back and forth just because you and him sparred. So I've kind of lately I kind of like changed into not doing that, and and it's like that, like, but I know how to do it. That's just the talent that I have, and I'm able to talk back and forth like that. And that comes from, you know, just growing up in a certain kind of area, riding the school bus, all the kids playing the dozens, you know, your mama this, your mama that, on the back of the bus all day long on the way to school and the way after school. You had to have real thick skin. So learning how to talk back and forth like that is not a big deal to me on stage because I've done it my whole life. Mm-hmm. Except it's almost like a roast battle, or kind of like rappers. You know how they battle each other, battle rap.
Yeah, for sure.
Except when a heckler's battle rapping you, he doesn't know how many battle rap championships you won. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I don't know we're trained at this, especially somebody like you or me that just been grinding it out all around the country and all these little small towns. The worst of the worst shows, we made the best scenario out of them. So, you know, they don't know that they're fighting this person, and this person is like a martial artist.
For sure. And the way I like to do it is like Eminem at the end of 8 Mile, where it's like, no matter what you got to say about me, I got something worse to say and funnier to say about myself. And that, like, if nothing else, that's how you can beat those motherfuckers.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean?
Black hood on stage and everything, just like Eminem, because I believe in that message, man.
I also love to work the audience, and there's been sort of a debate that I've had back and forth with a few other comedians here or there, and a few other people that have come out to comedy shows where they say that if you're working the crowd or if you're doing audience participation material, that means you don't actually have any real material written, that you've ran out of material, things like this, or that you shouldn't do that because you set up the wrong vibe, like you said, pandering, all that kind of stuff. The way I see it, that is my favorite part of the show because it gives me a chance to show off my improv chops. It gives me a chance to be spontaneous and real and in the moment. And then when I go back into actual material, it comes off even more fresh, and I'm able to spark up some more extra, like some extra lines or some extra tags or things like that that normally might not have been there because I put myself into a creative frame of mind. It's kind of like what you're talking about, where you're writing a script. It doesn't matter whether you're doing a movie script or if you're trying to work on a sitcom or you're doing a video or you're doing a podcast. It's like you said earlier, you always want to be up to something. You always want to be putting out your jokes, and no matter what form it takes. And for me, my favorite form is the improv style. I don't like the excuse.
I love it, JerDog. I do. I really do agree with that.
Guys like us we got to have our road chops. You got to have the road chops to pull it off. And if you can't follow that
everybody can't do that. And when you meet the real true comedy enthusiasts and they come up to you and they're like, I love the way you handle it. You really, really, and they can tell that was not planned. They can tell that it's like in a fight. If you see somebody in a fight in a bar, and then, like, they've had some kind of training, and then afterwards somebody says, man, did you have some kind of martial arts training? Like, how was you doing those moves? Like, just like how you do them in the training, and then they were working. They don't understand. Yeah, man, I love that skill. That's the almost like the Iron Fist skill. You know what I mean? Like Marvel.
Absolutely.
Like it only so certain people are chosen to be able. That's an extra skill.
And it's something that you develop from years and years of doing bar gigs, you know. You said it earlier before we hit the live button. It's like you go around and do all these bar gigs, and you have audiences where they're drunk or even where they're just super appreciative. They're not even trying to be obnoxious or necessarily ruin the show, or they don't even consider what they're doing to be heckling. They think they're actually helping. They say they're helping in their minds, and sometimes it actually is helping. Sometimes it does because you're kind of doing okay, but then what really puts the show over the top is when you fucked with so-and-so in the second row that chimed in halfway through. You know, I've always equated
it. I'll bait somebody. I'll see somebody else say something a couple times. I'm like, boom, and I'll bait them into the rest of the show. And then I'll back off and I'll just bounce around because I believe in balance. Maybe it's my astrological sign. I gotta have balance, so I'll pick a couple other people on the other side of the room to interact in that way. Because if you talk to somebody too much, and like a bachelorette party, and then people will start getting this look on their face like, oh, here we go again. Like it's all about these bitches.
For sure.
So you really have to make sure you include everybody. So once that were to happen. At a certain point in time, if it doesn't automatically stop, I have to bounce around and then pick somebody else and then pick somebody else. And then that way it feels like it was a full interaction versus me spending too much time with this one person. And people don't like favoritism during shows like that.
No, and it comes off like you're doing a private show for just that one table or group or that one person, and everybody else just has to be voyeurs in watching in on that, and they feel excluded from it. You're right. The way to really make the crowd work happen is to go around the room and make sure that all sides, front to back, are included. That's one of the things that bugs me so much about people are like, I don't want to sit in the front row because the comedians will pick on you. It's like, first of all, the comedian that picks on you just because you sat in the front row is a douchebag. If they're only picking on you because you're in the front row. Secondly, the comedian that's really skilled at working the crowd works the crowd from the front row to the fucking back row. They don't just focus on the front row.
The eyesight has to extend all the way back. And I've worked on seeing all the way back because I used to work at a comedy club before I was even a comedian. So, and I was I did everything there from marketing to receiving to cooking, bartending, and I would in the daytime it would be dark right before the deliveries for the alcohol and stuff would come in. So I would go in there and I would turn on the lights, the stage lights.
Yeah. And
then I started working on sound effects, and then I was working on looking in the back of the room and talking to nobody in the back of the room. It was cool until like somebody showed up early. He's like, "We got your beer, buddy." I was like, "Oh, I just testing the microphone." Yeah, man, you gotta have eyesight to connect all the way around the room, and people really respect that once. Because it's not an easy thing. We make it look easy, just like anybody else who was skilled at a specific thing like basketball or ribbon dancing.
It's a lot of practice to make it look like it's just coming off the cuff. But
a lot of abuse that we've taken.
Oh, for sure.
You know
what along those lines? What's the worst gig you had?
When it does work out, like the other night, I had like a big bachelor and bachelorette party all together. All the dudes had on snapbacks and ostrich skin boots, and I was like, and flannels, and they were laughing and talking out loud and yelling, and doing the other comics, they were kind of going back and forth a little bit. So I decided to just to give them, just like treat them like children, and I just had a bit that I had specifically lured them into to make them feel like this was, because I remember they told us before the show, like, it's a birthday party up here. So if you guys want to say something about that, they knew where the comics were sitting at. So they told us like we were supposed to make it all about them.
Right.
None of the other comics even addressed it, but then I just bait them into something because they were laughing a little bit and they got it going. And when I seen one of them try to heckle, I went ahead and baited them into that joke, and I led them all the way to walk me into that joke. And I acknowledged them, had the girl stand up and everybody clapped for them and blah blah blah. And then I moved into a bit right out of that. Like, she got what she needed, and we was on something else. I bounced to the other side of the room, and I just started working something else. It's just like a skilled boxer won't even just be, going for a knockout. You know what I mean? It's a method to it. Sometimes you got to work the body. You know what I mean? Then sometimes you got to work the jab. Sometimes you got to dance around a little bit, get them on the ropes. That's what the fun thing about rope comedy is, that most people don't realize is they just they think it's about fame, and we've come across a lot. We put a lot of miles on cars, you know what I mean? So a lot of people like me and you are, because we do it for the love of the game, and that's what fame is to me in reality, is when not when everybody recognizes you, but when you go someplace and then anybody recognizes you, make a big deal out of it. You know what I mean? You ever had that one person in your career?
For sure.
It just came out of nowhere, seeing you in the airport, like, JerDog, like, oh my God. And like, it makes you freak out. Oh, this guy's a comedian. He's awesome. Yeah, I saw him at the store. And like, what? Like, and I can only imagine on another 2 or 3 levels up what that would feel like. And I'm about to pass out right then. So I take that to heart because I'm just doing my art. And it's just like you came to the gallery and said, hey, I want to buy that painting.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like to me when people really accept us, because we just have a specific way of going by it, to where it's not about even being funny. It's not even about being funny. It's other things, because we can go in and go up against the best in the business. I've seen you do it time and time again, and it's not all the time that you may hear from us, like, where's JerDog? Where's Kris? Oh, we're doing something. We're just not doing, it doesn't take an audience for stuff to be moving. You know what I mean? Before social media, we were always doing the same. You know what I mean? You never knew what anybody was doing.
Right.
Unless you work with them. But now, everybody's posting, hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Check out this, check out that. It's okay to expose yourself, but it's only so much that I expose myself, because I was an introvert before this all started anyway, so I wasn't.
Well, yeah, that's what you're talking about before we got into this, about how you kind of are taking a break from Facebook, or you got to take it easy on Facebook, or there's a certain amount of Facebook that's like kind of going to church, where it's like, I'm spiritual, I just don't go to church. It's in a way, it's like it's a great tool, but it's also can be a fucking dangerous tool. People can get sucked into.
You know why? Because people use it against each other for several things. It's just like a brag thing. People like, pray for me this, pray for that. That's okay, but you know what? I don't want to do this here on Facebook. It's just so much other stuff. It's a lot of braggy stuff going on, and it's everybody wants instant gratification on there. And I'm not saying that I was any different from everybody else. I fell into the trap too. It's like a drug, and I believe it was designed. I've read that it was designed to be a drug, like it's a mental drug. And if you look at the things that you do, like, my cousin told me, she's like, she used to call me, my cousins in California, they call me Chrissy. So she was like, Chrissy, after me and my husband would get done having sex, sometimes I'd be so addicted to Facebook, I would grab my phone and see if anybody had messaged me, or I got any notifications in between the time we had sex. I'm like, well, how long is that? 2 minutes, 30 minutes? Like, really? That's
Right.
the first thing you did when you rolled over? So, you know, when you get up in the morning, you gotta take a dump or something. You grab that phone.
Yeah.
Just, I don't want it to leave me like that. Plus, too many old people
Twitter
on
on the shitter.
Yeah. It's too many old people on there. I mean, it's for everybody. But you remember way back in the day when Facebook was just exclusive to college students?
Well, I don't actually because I was not in college at that time. So I didn't even, I was on like MySpace and shit like that. And then the way I got into it was somebody from my college was like, hey, we're organizing this fraternity reunion. In order to keep abreast of the details, we're going to put everything into this Facebook event. And so I'm like, all right, I'll sign up because this was like 2006 or 2007.
Yeah.
And I didn't really want to. Yeah. And there wasn't
when the iPhone 2 was out.
There wasn't even social media. Like you actually had to do it on your computer. Or there was I think I had mine on a fucking BlackBerry, and it was a real pain in the ass. And I didn't want to get sucked in any kind of online bullshit. But I signed up to Facebook to keep track of this event. And then they wound up canceling the fucking event. And here it is, like 9 years later, and I'm doing a live broadcast with you right now for 3 people, drinking beers and calling it my job.
These 3 people are getting the best conversation at 420.
Well, for sure, dude. It's so cool that we can, like, if you use it properly, I think this is a great way to go, you know, as long as you don't get sucked into the political battle. I do think it's cool that now everybody has a voice. We all have access to media that can reach people around the world. We can all get our messages out. Stand-up comedians have an opportunity now more than ever because we don't all have to compete for the same spots like on national television. We all don't have to just try to be the black guy on the CBS dramas.
Right. Here's the thing.
You can do your thing on YouTube or on Facebook or on whatever it is and just do your thing. And you just got, you know what I always say, Kris? Haters are just confused admirers.
I like that too. Did you see that on, what's that, the girl with the red lipstick on? What's her name?
I don't know.
Netflix. That one chick, I can't remember her name. She's got some haters back off. You ever seen that show? Pretty cool.
No, I hate to tell you, but I don't even own a television. I've got I
just got one too recently.
I haven't had cable since 2003.
I don't have cable. I don't have cable, nothing like that. I just got a password.
Oh, I got you.
You know how women they say, I don't want a man that lives in his mother's basement. I'm like, all right, what about a man that uses his mom's Netflix passcode? But guess what? If you act right, you may get that passcode, girl.
Hell yeah, dude.
That's all I got, JerDog.
That sounds like a pretty resourceful guy. Hey, anybody watching? We got Sharon tuning in now. Mark Munger, Mischief Lowell gig. Family shit came up. That's all right, dude. It was packed in. I'm actually drinking. I'm finishing up. I got about half a mug of beer left of this Scottish ale from Founders. Talking to Kris Shaw, who is going to be headlining the Grassroots Comedy Tour this Saturday, January 20th at Gunderson's Bar in Lake Park, Iowa. This place, dude, it is going to be one of your favorite gigs of 2018. I guarantee you. You're going to pack them in, about 45 people. It's actually the front part of a bowling alley. So you got the supper club upstairs, and then downstairs they do the show in front of the bowling alley. It's like a six-lane bowling, or I think maybe they call it an entertainment center now. I don't know, dude.
On top of a bowling alley.
And there'll be lockers right there, and like a rack of bowling balls. You know, if I ever do a Netflix special or a Comedy Central special or an HBO special, I want the set of the stage to be decorated like a bowling alley, because I think that's representative of the perfect comedy gig for me, where it's blue collar people. They're just there to drink and have a good time. And I even want to go so far as to actually have a fucking bar up on the stage that I can just make my own drinks while I'm doing my set in the theater.
Oh, okay. Well, let me ask you this. Would you wear bowling shoes? Is that going too far?
I think I'd have to. I think you know what I would do, like Mister Rogers style. Like when they introduced me, I'd come on and I'd sort of start my routine and then sit down in one of the chairs and change from my regular shoes into the bowling shoes, and maybe even change my shirt into a bowling shirt. Brother. And then and then when you close, do the same thing. Just change back into your shoes that you would walk, and then walk off the stage.
Somebody's watching this podcast. They're like, "Who's Mister Rogers?"
Probably just about everybody.
You can't start naming people back 2 decades ago, man. Past 2 decades ago, people are not going to know who they are.
Do you ever get yourself into trouble with that, making references? You're like, oh shit, man, I must be an old fucker because I'm making references from back in the day, and this crowd just ain't picking up on it.
Man, it ain't my fault they don't own a DeLorean like I
do. Good response.
You know what I mean? Man, people, do you think Yoda gets mad at all these stupid ass Jedi's coming up? Like, oh, damn, another stupid fucking Jedi. He enjoys, the Oracle. They enjoy telling people the fucking, part of this whole thing with comedy, and I know you know the feeling, is when you get to be knowledgeable enough to tell somebody, hey, you want to skip a step, do this right here. When have you ever had anybody come up there and you had to mentor them and you took pride in it and you told them all the things to avoid to make another kind of like a hybrid JerDog, you know what I mean?
For
kind of
sure.
Like they would a kid in real life if you had a baby, except, this is a comedy kid. So you kind of, everybody has somebody like one person they mentor to.
And I'll tell you, dude, real kids are way easier than comedy children.
Right, you're actually right.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, though. I think you're making a good point.
But yeah, it's just one of those things where I don't even know what I was saying, man.
Would you bring in someone? I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
That's all right.
You're on a roll. You're bringing someone up. Like you got your mentor, your guys that are coming up in the business, and you're saying, "Hey, listen, don't make the same mistake I made. If you really want to skip steps and you really want to take shortcuts to get there faster, try these things instead." And a lot of times I've found that advice can be counterintuitive. It can be things that they don't necessarily expect or would want to hear, but it's stuff you have to do. For me, it was just quitting. It was just making the decision, quit all my fucking jobs. I'm only going to concentrate on comedy. It got to a point where even my part-time jobs were kind of interfering with my ability to go on the road. And I just said, fuck it. I'll be a ramen noodle, rice and beans eating motherfucker for the next 3 months. But I'm going to clock in and clock out every single day like a real job. Get up at 7 a.m., start in on my comedy shit, and I'm not going to get done until it's 8 and 9 hours later after I've made my... Remember back in the day when you had to fax your avails? You know what I mean? I'd spend 3 hours faxing my avails out.
Yeah, I remember before the fax part came, when you just had to send it off in the mail and just wait for it to return. It's the return. If they weren't busy, they're already busy now.
No
and
shit.
They have social stuff and emails. Just imagine when they were busy and it wasn't that stuff around.
And I was talking about this to Willie Farrell.
Prior to the movie where he shows up at a comedy club and gets off a bus, you know what I mean?
Yep.
It's just how it is. Everything has changed. And these kids, the thing I don't like about all this stuff that's going on, the one thing I specifically don't like is everybody thinks they're a comedian now. We have the one job, and especially since all this, video stuff and, all this live, it is good. Everything is good when you use it for good intentions. Money's good until you use it for the wrong intentions.
For sure.
It's evil, you know what I mean? Then it's bad. Like the dark side in Star Wars. So once it's used for evil, then it's kind of like, you know what I mean? So I would look at it as comedy is we can't just go on any random job. You can't just go and say, I want to be an FBI agent. I've always wanted to do that shit. Everybody says I should be an FBI agent. You know what I mean? But people always think they should be comedians. I've had dudes bait me into a drink after a show. Hey, man, can I buy a drink? That was awesome. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Then all of a sudden, we just talk a little bit, and they've practiced on how to interrogate me to ask them, to instruct them how to get into the comedy business. And I remember when that happened to me. I was on that point in my career. I bought a ticket to a comedy show. And this comedian named Steve Brown's black comic, like on the Def Comedy Jam circuit. Very, very funny. Very, dreadlocks down thing. Very, very energetic. And for some reason, one time I went to a show, I bought a ticket to this comedy show. I went by myself. And I worked up my nerve. I practiced in my head what to say to him afterwards, and he had a merch booth. And first of all, it's bad to try to interrupt sales of a comic of any color, nationality, sexuality. You know what I mean? It's just rude, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You dare not interrupt a brother when he's selling T-shirts and CDs after the show. You don't do.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and not buy nothing.
Right. But stand right there in front of the table, blocking anybody who might want to come up and buy something, or even take a selfie, get an autograph, shake your hand, all that shit.
I start asking them questions about getting on Def Comedy Jam and who to submit to. That's what I was at. I didn't even try to buy a T-shirt or nothing. And then in hindsight, I look back and I think about people that bought T-shirts from me, CDs. And I didn't even know they wanted a conversation about something. They wanted to ask me a question about something. That's the best way to lead in.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's just the weirdest things like that. You just don't even realize. And your intentions are you just answering or whatever. And then it's like, oh, this is some fan shit. Okay. That's kind of weird how you approach me like that. But yeah, man, I think that if either one of us died right now, tomorrow, whatever, nobody would say that we didn't die doing what we love doing.
No shit.
Because we didn't eat. We didn't eat for this. You know, there's times we didn't eat.
True that, 100%, man. And even those times, I was giggling my ass off just knowing the fact that I'm able to get out there week in and week out, travel the country, meet new people, see different things, get up on stage, talk my shit, and just the right way. Like, here's the difference. You brought it up earlier. Everybody thinks they're a comedian. It takes a long time to figure out how to put together the right words in the right way to psychologically manipulate somebody into the involuntary reaction of laughter. So
I love how you worded that.
You might be able to post your fucking funny meme on Facebook, but get in front of a crowd and do that same shit for an hour and a half and do it at the exact specified time of 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, which, by the way, Kris Shaw, the comedian I have on the phone with me right now, will be doing at Gunderson's Bar in Lake Park, Iowa, this Saturday, January 20th, man. See how I worked that fucking promo in there, too? Not only do you have to do your fucking shit, you got to promote that shit.
I'm flavor flaving you right now. Yeah, boy.
Always be hustling.
They didn't know me then. Now they know me now. Man, you know what? When I get my knee brace through the mail from Amazon, I'm gonna start, really just kicking ass out here.
Where are you right now?
At a rest stop in Indiana. I pull off the rest stop. It's so weird that people look at you weird at a rest stop just because you're sitting in your car for a while, masturbating. That's so crazy. I'm like, man, this is a free country.
Hey, I will say this though. You're the first comedian that I promoted to perform to be on the 420 report, where I was inquired about your relationship status.
Oh, I am taken.
Well, sorry, boys.
Yeah, sorry, boys. I had some dude come to me one time at a show. And I was working with I think with the guy for this weekend, Jane Renfro. We were in Cedar Falls, Iowa. We're Jokers. You've been in Jokers, right?
Oh, for sure. I am seed there for like a year and a half.
Okay. Yeah, because you're from the area.
Way back in the day.
Yeah. What am I thinking? Okay. Time is going backwards. All right. So after the show, me and Gene, we had like the merchandise table set up. And some dude comes to me. He's like looking me across the way. I thought he was just like, hey, that's a comedian. I'm going to come buy a T-shirt. I'm thinking merchandise. Guy comes up and is like, oh, you was funny. I was like, oh, thanks. Then he like got close to my hair and leaned in to sniff. And he's like, boysenberry. I was like, what? That was the weirdest pickup line I've ever heard. Automatically, I wanted to Google what's boysenberry.
Right. What's poison?
You never know who asked you that question, man. But I'm taking it, and I'm very happy. And yeah, man, it's hard. It's hard to find somebody when you're on the road, and that understands who you are, because this is not like a easy job to do. You know what I mean?
No,
We're not easy people.
Correct.
No, we're not funny off the stage all the time.
Yeah, for sure. And some people expect
you
to be like
people,
that
though.
all the time. Where, and thank God that I found and fell in love with my wife as early as I did, because I don't think very many women could put up with and handle the shit that I bring to the table. And that's for that's for a different thing at a different time.
How do you even introduce that to somebody? Like,
they already have to know you're a comic going in. You know what I mean? Like, you can't.
Yeah.
I think it'd be hard for guys that were like, "Oh, I've been married for 20 years, and all of a sudden I got laid off from my job, and honey, I want to go be a comedian." That would be a really fucking hard lifestyle change to adjust to. For me, I've been doing it since I was 19 years old. So she already knew that I was a comic going in. It's just the way it was always going to be. Take it or leave it. And thank God I not only found a fucking good woman to be able to handle that and this type of lifestyle, but she is also really fucking funny herself. And I think could actually do stand up. She just won't get up on stage and actually do it because she doesn't have the desperate need for attention that guys like me and you do. But
I tell you, some people are writers and some people are performers.
That's right. And you're looking at the performer right now, and behind the scenes, it's Mrs. JerDog doing all the writing.
Oh, nice. Yeah, man, that's what it's about, because it's about inspiration. They say behind every successful man is a strong woman, and so sometimes when you have that other co-partner, you could just bounce back and forth, and it's just like the he said, she said thing that you got coming up. You know what I mean? It's just that view. The same view, except from different sectors.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I like the most about it, because at the end of the day, when I'm doing that show with Katrina where we're doing the he side and the she side, the viewpoints, a lot of times they're pretty much they're congruent with each other. We're pretty much in agreement with each other, just from a different frame of mind and from a different way of talking about it, yet it still makes everybody laugh. So it's not like, oh, women are dumb because of this or men are dumb because of that. A lot of times when you do comedy in the right way, even if you're making fun of a particular group or even if you're doing stereotyping, I was talking about this earlier this week on my Facebook Live, that sometimes when you're doing stereotyping, you're fucking nailing that shit. You know what I mean? People are like, oh my God, how did you know that about so-and-so? Oh, it's because I've ran into 17 million of you out there on the road. And humor is a good way to bridge the gap. People talk all the time about, oh, these divisive times, people are so divisive. There's so much polarity in this country. The one fucking way to unify everybody? Humor, laughter, have a sense of that's it. End of fucking flowchart.
Do you see those new 2 Dave Chappelle specials?
I haven't yet, but I got to though. I need to set aside the time and watch those.
When you do, you'll feel like you went to school very briefly. Feels like going and get a quick college course. The first one he does is in a bigger theater, and then the second one is, I think, in the belly room of the Comedy Store. It's very intimate.
Nice.
I performed up there, but somebody like him normally would perform downstairs in the main room or the original room, not in the belly room. So the fact that he performed in the same room, a tier level comic like I am, he was up there. It's just like, I'm like, oh wow, I've been on that stage before. So it's kind of one of those surreal things. And that one, he sits down in a chair and he's being comical, but it's like he's very teaching, and he's teaching in both of them. The one is a big theater, and the second one is a very intimate room. And it's like anybody that can do that has a super duper strong skill, and they're able to. It's just mastering through it. It's just pure brilliant. And I think that if people, it's hard to put stuff in perspective like that, and get everybody's opinion on it. Because Dave Chappelle will dissect it all the way down to, you know what? You may hate me, but this all these things that are happening, all these different groups and all this stuff, this all happened to me all at once. With the whole, Me Too thing, not just, discrediting anything for the victims, but, that happens against anybody. You know what I mean?
For sure. It's a whirlwind.
We're working our way through this right now. You know what I mean? This is a time for like comics like me or you to really, really get a good footing and just be who we want to be.
Just be who you want to be, man. And instead of trying to cater to the masses, just cater to the people who like and who do yourself. They cater to the people who like what you do. Create that long-tailed snake. I put this up on a post last week about how I would rather have 1,000 loyal fans who get what I do, support what I do. I'm going to have fun as shit with and appreciate and probably know most of them by name and actually have shots with them. Yeah, literally. There are places that I go to where you bring up someone and like you might call them a name. Like this guy last week, I called him the Kool-Aid Man at one of my shows. I guarantee you that's going to be his new nickname, at least for a little while. You know what I mean? And it might be a year from now. You come back
forever.
Yeah, and they're still calling him the fucking Kool-Aid Man. For me, that means so much more than to have like a million generic fickle fans who are going to turn on your ass as soon as you violate mainstream thinking. As soon as you go against something that doesn't just communicate to the masses, they'll fucking turn on you. You get fired from your job. You get shamed. Meanwhile, guys like me and you can keep hitting the fucking road and doing what we love to do, even when we're eating rice and fucking beans just to do it. We do it for the love of the game.
Hey, first of all, I like rice and beans no matter what I was doing. Yeah, I get what you're saying. But isn't it so weird? Have you ever looked at it like all this stuff is going on? Everybody's losing their careers, right? And they could do nothing. I mean, it could maybe one in every blue moon is, you know what I mean? It's almost like they're witches. You know what I mean? This modern day, you know what I mean? So is it better to be at that level? Like, what do you call success? You know what I mean? Being able to walk around doing what we love to do and knowing the Kool-Aid, calling somebody the Kool-Aid Man and giving him that nickname forever and having that legacy, you know, for who you are, or that you blew up and had all these accolades and all these awards and did all these movies, Oscar nominee, and then all of a sudden you're a gazillionaire, and then all of a sudden you get shamed because you said something the wrong way to too many people and they caught it with you.
That's what I'm talking about.
And now they're ruined forever, and they wish they could be like us again. So who's really successful? You know what I mean? Like, you go back and you look at is it us, is it them?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
To walk around here laughing, JerDog can go in the IKEA and have a good day. We could do regular stuff. Somebody who I also love that could do that is Mike Epps. Mike Epps is from the same city I'm from. Mike Epps can go in the hoodest of hoods and just and film himself and go to Walmart in the middle of the night, take pictures with people, and it's no big deal. No big deal. I mean, and then he'll go back and be doing some Hollywood, but he don't act Hollywood. He's the only person I've ever seen in my life that was the exact same person, literally from where he came from in Hollywood. You know what I mean? Like he's not
pretentious.
He didn't change. And he still is achieving several different things without having changed. Like he'll come on and be the exact same person on the street that you see as he was on TV.
Yeah, and that, I think that's how I feel like I'd like to be. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we'd all like to be like that. And I bet that's really hard to do. I mean, kudos to Mike Epps for being able to manage that, because I bet that's something really fucking hard to do. You brought it up earlier. You made a couple Star Wars references earlier. I bet it's very easy to be seduced by the dark side, especially if it comes on fast. If you've been out there trudging the fucking path for 20 years and getting kicked in the balls and going to the small towns and doing the nightclubs and sometimes doing a big theater gig, and then the next, like Dave Chappelle does in his special where he does the big theater gig and then the intimate crowd, but you might not have the benefit of the Dave Chappelle, obviously. We know who has the benefit of the Dave Chappelle name recognition and love and loyalty, but you can even get that on a smaller level. You can have that stuff on a smaller level and still get out there, get the job done. But as soon as but Chappelle's another one of those guys, even by a guy who turned his back on that. I was like, I'm not going to fucking play your game just for money. People thought he was crazy. They're like, oh, he's crazy. He's crazy. It's not just that, he made an appropriate decision for him based on what his definition of success is. It was, that guy is crazy. So it's just easily dismissible. It's an easy, it's the dismissive hand wave. If, I wish I was lucky to get that kind of offer. That kind of, it's like, maybe not though. Maybe with what that kind of offer entails is your lack of freedom. Now you're no longer able to go to the IKEA or the grocery store without being bothered. I mean, shit, dude, there's been times when I'm at the show and I sell my T-shirts or my CDs, or people have a copy of my CD or DVD that they bought at a previous show, and they followed me in the fucking bathroom, handed it underneath the toilet stall where I was taking a shit. This is why I don't shit at clubs anymore. They've handed the fucking CD underneath the toilet stall. Hey, my wife and I have to leave. Will you sign this while I'm taking a shit?
First of all,
I don't want that
before the shows.
And I'm a nobody.
Get directly out of the show.
I can't imagine what they'd be like if I actually was famous. You can't even take a shit in private. You know what I mean?
Hey, man. I'm on their side, JerDog. I can't side with you on this one because actually sometimes that's how I sell my CDs. I go to Flying J Truck Stop and I go beside a stall where somebody's taking a real deep shit, and then I put my CD on my toe and I slide it over and I say, we can handle this one of two ways. I have a square if you have a card. And you can buy 10 minutes of me. You can buy this CD for $10, or you can buy a zip drive of you grunting over here for the last 15 minutes. Good choice.
Hey, man, we covered it all. I asked you to come on for about 20 minutes just to promote your show. Kris Shaw will be at the Gunderson's Bar in Lake Park, Iowa this Saturday, January 20th, as part of the Grassroots Comedy Tour series that we have there. Hey, man, you're going to have a really good time. They're going to pack them in. And this was so much fun, dude. We were on almost for an hour here, and I've had 2 of these beers. I'm feeling kind of drunk. Jack Lewis wanted me to ask you about performing with him in 2010 at the Summit in Iowa City and smoking a bowl in the alley out back afterwards.
Yeah, I don't think it was a bowl. I think it was a joint. But yeah, I remember that guy. Because he had a Kango on it, and I had never fight Kango.
That's exactly what he said.
I never did that guy. Plus, it's Iowa City, of course. I've only been there 2 or 3 times, and yeah, I remember him.
Well, there you have it.
Times, man. I keep a list of everybody who I smoke pot with, and I keep it in a secret vault, kind of like the one Prince has. So nobody will never know about it, but I never forget about anybody now.
Nice. Hey, dude. Well, there you have it, Jack. Question answered. Kris Shaw does remember hanging out with you and burning one after the show. Dave Peace says you're opening for him. He's opening for you this Saturday.
Yeah, he's going to do a couple minutes before Gene, and then I will give them 15 hours of raw stand-up brilliance.
I love it. So you got Dave Peace, you got Gene Renfro, my brother from another mother, the starter brother, as he likes to call himself.
Yeah.
You got Kris Shaw.
I think he's watching the show. He's supposed to be checking out the show.
It's going to be a hell of a fucking lineup. And Gene and I go way back. We've got a lot of stories of doing road shows together where I brought him out to do an event called Redneck Fest, and he was like the only black guy within a 10-mile radius in Janesville, Wisconsin.
He's light-skinned though. You can pull that one off, buddy.
That's why he's the starter, brother.
Starter brother.
So, hey, thank you guys. I'll be back tomorrow for a Throwback Thursday at 4:20 p.m. or as close as possible. Kris Shaw, thank you very much. I didn't even get to the rant that I was going to get to. I had so much fun just talking to you, talking shop. You know, I could do this all day long, dude. I really could, but I'm drunk.
Well, we'll have to do it again, man.
Fuck yeah.
And we'll have to work on a project together.
Something for sure. Because it's been a while. We did some shows back in the day, and it was a good time.
Back in the day, it would be dangerous now, though.
Well, and, yeah, no shit. And now it's
for anybody sitting in the audience in the front row, you would get a dangerous wetting from both of us after the show. That's how hard it would be.
And it's pretty much going to be everybody will be in the front row with the 40 people, 45 people that you'll be performing for a packed house. this Saturday at Emerson's Bar. So, and shout out to Grant and Tanya from up there. You're going to have a good time, dude. Let me know how it goes.
Hello, brother. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, man. And thank you guys, everybody. Thank you for watching the 420 Report, my daily live video blog on Facebook at 4:20 p.m. pretty much every day, except for the weekends when I'm out on the road doing shows at nightclubs, taverns, neighborhood bars all across the country. I'll be back tomorrow, Throwback Thursday, 4:20 p.m. or as close as possible. In the meantime, dog bless America. I'm fucking drunk, whatever.